Hey family, if you're watching this the first week of February 2025, I have just turned 35 years old, which feels crazy, honestly. I've been sitting with a lot of reflection, a lot of feelings, a lot of surrender. Because if you had asked me 10 years ago where I thought I would be at this age, my answer probably would have been completely different. But before we get into all of that, I actually want to take a moment to officially introduce my new YouTube series, Vibe Check. If you're familiar with my work pre-YouTube, then you probably remember Vibe Check as my column at Refinery 29 Unbothered, where I explored how Black folks are reclaiming their time and reclaiming their power and prioritizing self-care in a world that often doesn't allow us to. I also gave you a taste of Vibe Check in my last video, What Happens When You Stop Running, and I'm just going to consider that my first unofficial episode. But this video today marks the official launch, and I'm really excited to be bringing Vibe Check to life. It's a space where I want to just share my insights from my personal journey, from wellness to imposter syndrome to stories around vulnerability, and more. While I am a wellness coach and a meditation facilitator and an Ayurvedic educator by day, in Vibe Check, it's really just me. No roles, no titles, just real talk about growth and healing. And as someone who loves to send voice notes to her friends all the time, I really want to think of this series like a chat with a friend about self-care and personal growth. All right, so jumping back into what I was saying. If you had asked me 10 years ago where I thought I would be at this age, my answer would have been completely different than where I'm at right now. I thought that maybe I would still be in digital media, still making six figures, maybe publishing books, thriving in my wellness practice, still in New York City, maybe even married. I don't know. But what I didn't see was the debt. Let's talk about it. The anxiety. Let's talk about it. And the deep healing, the starting over. I really feel like at 35, I am starting from square one. But you know what? Instead of seeing that as failure, I'm choosing to see it as divine redirection, because the thing about life is it rarely unfolds the way we expect, right? And when we hit moments where we feel behind, especially in a world that tells us we should have it all figured out by now, it is so easy to spiral into self-doubt. I don't know why I feel like my glasses are crooked. But like, what if we're exactly where we need to be? What if not having it all together right now doesn't mean we never will? You know, what if this chapter, this messy, unpredictable, uncomfortable chapter is actually preparing us for something greater? I've really been sitting with that. And whenever I get into conversations about this, the next thing I reflect on is why we even feel the pressure to have it all together, right? Because it's not just personal when you really get to the root of it. It is deeply societal. So much of this expectation to have it all together by a certain age, by a certain chapter in our life, is rooted in systems like colonialism. It's rooted in capitalism. And they have conditioned us to tie our worth to how much we produce. While researching and just doing a little reflecting before I turned the camera on, I came across this article published by the South Seattle Emerald, and I believe it was titled, "Is the Laziness Lie Responsible for Our Collective Burnout?" And I'll link it in the description for anyone interested, but basically the article highlights Dr. Devin Price, who is the author of Laziness Does Not Exist. And it talks about their talk titled The Laziness Lie. And they explain how the concept of laziness was weaponized during colonialism to justify exploitation of land, of people, and of labor. And the so-called Protestant work ethic wasn't about morality or purpose. It was about keeping people grinding, keeping them disconnected from their intuition and their bodies, and keeping them convinced that they were never doing enough unless they were doing more. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And here's the thing, we're still carrying that today. This idea that rest is a luxury, that our value is tied to how much we accomplish, that we're only as worthy as we are productive, that goes way back. But what if it's a lie? It is a lie. But, really consider the fact that it's not true. What if who we are just as we are is already enough. As someone who used to pride themselves as being the go-getter, unlearning this conditioning is so hard. But I think there's liberation in simply noticing how deeply ingrained these systems are. And not only noticing that, but also choosing to challenge them, choosing to rest, choosing to reflect, choosing to embrace the idea that life doesn't have to be a constant grind. And most importantly, to remind ourselves that we're not behind and we're exactly where we are, and where we are is absolutely okay. So, this past year, from my 34th birthday into this moment, has been full of so many lessons. Some I've learned, some I'm still learning. And as I step into 35, the ones that are anchoring me are the power of my words, how speaking things into existence actually works, learning to manifest even when things feel impossible, catching myself when I slip into scarcity mindset, and remembering to shift into gratitude. I've also been sitting with the understanding that adaptability is a gift, but I have to be mindful of what I'm adapting to, because not every environment deserves my energy. And that is a major one for me. I feel like that's a conversation around boundaries that I was kind of beginning to unpack on my previous video. But learning to recognize that and being unapologetic in the protection of myself has been so big for me in this moment. I have to prioritize spaces that nurture who I am and who I'm becoming. And if they're not doing either of those things, I don't want any parts of it. In this chapter, my ancestors have also really been calling. And I'm recognizing that there is healing to do and generational patterns to break, as I also mentioned in my last vibe check video. And other things that have just been solidified through experiences that nature is a hotline to my soul. The more I ground, the more I remember. And I think the biggest lesson that has been so loud right now is that I am meant to be here. I am meant to be here where I am, and my journey is not an accident, and neither is yours. So let me come closer for this one, because I want to talk to y'all right now. If you are in your 20s and you're watching this and you are feeling pressured to have it all figured out, or if you're in your 30s or beyond and you're wondering why life doesn't look like you expected, please hear me when I say you are not alone. You are not failing. You are living, and living is not a linear path. Sit with that. We are all doing the best we can in this economy, in this world, in our personal journeys, and that is enough. You are enough. The way you show up is enough. So instead of measuring ourselves against where we thought we'd be, maybe we can ask ourselves, what has this journey taught me about my strength? How has my resilience surprised me? How can I hold gratitude for not only where I am, but for the dreams of where I want to be? Because in this moment of letting go of where I thought I'd be, I truly believe that we're all being guided, even when it doesn't make sense. And my guides have been saying this to me a lot lately. Even in the uncertainty, even in the in-between, we are being guided. And so here's to 35. Here's to wherever you are in your life. Here's to releasing the timelines that we've placed on ourselves. And if you're in this season too, I see you. You got this. I think those are all my thoughts for now. Let me know in the comments if this resonated with you. And if you are in this season, let's talk about it. Where are you? What questions do you have? What challenges are you moving through? What are you trying to manifest? What do you hope to bring into your life in this next year? Let's just hold space for one another. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already a part of this community. Share this with someone who may be able to use it today. And in the meantime, in between time, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.